Live and starting.
And when they went to the queen to tell her her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of the Peasants Perspective. It's Monday. We made it. And we are getting desperately close to our deadline to need live chatters. So we need 2 new live chatters, only 2. So I'm going to say it until we get them. If you haven't jumped into the Rumble chat during the live show and you're a regular listener, please do. If not today, tomorrow. And after that, I'm pretty much going to have to stop people on the street and have them open Rumble accounts. So, I can't believe we've tapped out our online commenters. And I know there's more than that because I see you guys in here watching. So anyways, if you get a chance, please make sure you're on Rumble. You have an account and you can leave a comment. Yes, Ron, good morning. I don't think you get to count on this one, though.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you guys, I had a pretty, long weekend. I felt like I was staring at the computer screen all weekend. I just got a message from one of our show listeners this morning, and he said, the government is so corrupt. And I'm like, you telling me? Whole show. Anyways, so there's this throwback clip that I saw today that I wanted to share with you guys. This is Peter Strzok. And if you don't remember who Peter Strzok is, this is who Donald Trump refers to as the lovers. This is Peter Strzok and Lisa Page of FBI fame. And Peter Strzok was he wasn't the deputy FBI director. That was Andrew McCabe. He was something below that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was really in charge of opening up the Crossfire Hurricane. He's the one who was in charge of getting General Flynn. He's the one who I believe his sister-in-law or his wife, there was a relationship in Mike Pence's office. So he had a direct in to the Mike Pence office, which is a lot of people used to say, there was a connection there as to why Mike Pence fired General Flynn or told President Trump that Mike Flynn had lied to him when he in fact hadn't, the whole thing, right? So he's deep inside this collusion mess. He's the one who's writing, we have an insurance policy and that Walmart people stink, right? The Trump supporters stink that are at Walmart. This is him. So when he was testifying, you can just look at this smug look on his face here and imagine for yourself just a moment that this is the guy that was running the whole investigation. And he says something pretty clear. So when you hear people that are like, hey, you got to clean out the FBI from top to bottom, it's because of statements like this.
At every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me, the assistant director, executive assistant director, deputy director, and director of the FBI, and multiple layers of people below me, section chiefs, supervisors, unit chiefs, case agents, and analysts, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions.
And those decisions were treason. So how big is the wall that we're going to be lining people up against? Okay. This is why these guys are in a full-blown panic mode. And really, truly, they're in panic mode. I mean, they're doing all kinds of PR right now. This is a guy that was a January 6th prosecutor. He came out and did a little interview this weekend. He's come out of the woodwork. And again, he's part of this alleged cabal.
So I prosecuted those cases for 2 years. I joined the Capitol Siege section of the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office as a volunteer.
He volunteered to come do it. He wanted to do it.
And then for the next 2 years, I prosecuted people who assaulted police officers, who tried to storm the Capitol, prosecuted a man who sought to take Congress people hostage, prosecuted people who brought weapons into the Capitol. Those were.
By the way, this clip right here, I just want to point to people out. There's a dead woman right here below these people. So this image that they show over and over and over again, her name is Rosen Boylan. There's a dead woman right here. She's the reason why this chaos is happening.
Were righteous cases.
Notice how
Those are
they're
people
standing
who
over her
admitted
right here.
breaking the law or who juries
try to
found
retrieve her
guilty
right
of
here.
breaking the
See?
law. I wasn't prosecuted because I did something wrong. I was prosecuted because I enforced the law to try to protect democracy. So I prosecuted those.
Anyways, when you see that clip, there's a dead woman there. That's what that's causing the crowds. So guys like this that volunteered, to come over and prosecute people, they're part of this, who Peter Strzok is talking about. There's people all up and down the chain. We're all in on it. Like, what an admission. They never thought they'd be caught. Yeah, this weekend was interesting because these guys you had a J6 prosecutor come out. You had John Brennan come out. You had a bunch of people come out. So do you remember, this is that CIA agent that he's got a Greek last name. What's his name? Do you recognize this guy here?
I'm not seeing anything.
This guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm always like, remember the names. I can't remember him. He served a prison term.
He's like an ex-CIA agent, dude.
Yep.
Isn't he like an analyst or something?
He was both an operative and an analyst. So
okay.
He's talking here about after he got out of prison and he went and met with some of the people on the Intel committee. And he has a little anecdote here. And it's just another one of those things that this is why we pay attention to this stuff, right? We have so much trust in our government and so much trust in the intelligence agencies that they're going to do the right thing. We have this premonition that somehow, in America, ultimately your civics class becomes the base programming. And it's really not the case. These people are human. They feel the pressure. And listen to this.
Dan is dead, and Barry Goldwater's dead, and all these other senators and congressmen, Otis Pike, they're all gone. They're all dead. And now we've got people who just egg on the intelligence communities. And I'll give you,
I know them.
I'll give you an example.
Disgusting.
When I got out of prison, I was invited to a dinner at the Greek ambassador's residence. And I went, and there was a senator there, a Democratic senator there, who's a member of the Intelligence Committee. And so he came up to me and he said, "Hey, welcome home. We were really worried about you." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Senator, I've got to tell you, I was disappointed that you didn't say anything. You didn't express any support or anything related to my case." And he got very angry. And he said, "Listen, it took everything I had just to not lose my security clearance." And I said, "So you're afraid of them? That's what this is." And he walked away.
That's disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
That's disgusting. But I think you can go through, certainly in the Senate, you can go through the roster of the 100 members of the Senate and then compare it to the list of the permanent, the Committee on Intelligence. And those are the worst. Those are the most dishonest people.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they are.
The most rotten, the most morally compromised, the most dishonest by far.
I have to agree. That was my experience.
How does that happen? Like sitting on the Senate Intel Committee is like just a sign that
you're one of the in crowd.
Worse than that,
yeah.
Like you're not someone I would invite to dinner at my house.
No, I agree.
How do they identify the most morally compromised people?
I wonder if this began with 9/11. I think that it didn't. I think it began earlier than that, like during the Clinton administration, where everybody where the intelligence community was seen as a force for good.
Yes,
which was odd to me.
Well, I mean, that's how I grew up thinking that, for sure. I mean, it was not even questioned.
When I first joined the agency, they were still sort of getting over the whole church committee era.
Right.
And then when Bill Clinton was elected president in 1992, we were told that there were going to be big changes at the agency. And indeed, one of the things that Clinton did was he ordered what they called a cull. So we had to go through the files of literally every recruited agent in the CIA. And if they had any human rights problem, they were fired. Right? We just cut off contact with them. And I remember thinking, wow, they're actually serious about this. I'm very pleasantly surprised. But then 9/11 happened. And not only did that go out the window, the pendulum swung so far to the other side that it has yet to go back to its point of equilibrium.
And then just naturally, inevitably, predictably, the tactics that and other agencies used against foreign governments were used against the
Against
U.S.
us.
government, the elected government, and the population of the country.
I know you and I agree on this. We've talked about this in the past, but the CIA is forbidden by law from spying on American citizens, as is NSA. It's a part of NSA's charter that it may not collect the communications of American citizens or U.S. persons.
NSA spied on me and leaked the information to the New York Times.
Leaked the information. I remember it very well.
To control me.
Mhm.
Right. Oh, it's illegal. Guess what happened? Nothing.
And here again, Congress just says, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah, we're afraid of them too.
That is interesting. To hear him lay it out, a Democrat senator, and probably all the senators, was like afraid of keeping his job. And then one of the things that I find really interesting, my little soiree going to DC and kind of being in that courthouse and seeing that town, is that is like an emerald city. It is, you can almost hear the vacuum noise of tax dollars being sucked in there and nothing being sold back in exchange. Like there are no factories in the District of Columbia, yet they take in billions, if not trillions of dollars of revenue turn into that city. Right. So, we got Maraizo. Great morning from McCall Morrison Scout Camp. Morning breakfast. Make Wookie. That's fun. Sapphire Patriot, good morning to you. H. Young, good morning to you. 22, top of the morning to you. And of course, Porny Boy, Weedham Boys, good to have you. Yes, pimpin' ain't easy. Please make sure you get your chest in. I think it's interesting. They called the CIA and cut all their assets off. So this would have been, in my mind, hearing that description, let's say it all plays out true. This is when they cut off Osama bin Laden. Because Osama bin Laden was clearly working with the CIA to fight the Russians and, put up whatever resistance, and they cut him off. I'm assuming, right? They cut him off. And pretty soon he turns the attack on the United States, which Osama bin Laden definitely was fomenting the attack. I know there's a lot of conspiracies as to what really happened on 11. Don't want to touch on that today. But, still that whole concept is this idea that the intelligence agencies just aren't operating under the control of elected politicians. And that's the only way we, the people, have control. If somebody comes in and says, I know better, that's the end of the republic right there. It has to be through representative government. It has to be accountable. And if it's not, we're in trouble. Did you, by chance, see in any of your stuff this weekend Dan Bongino's post?
No, I saw the post come through on my feed and I went to play it and it wouldn't play. So I didn't know what to make of that and I moved on.
It
said something about I got a big announcement. Somebody's getting, I don't know, charged or something.
That might have been spammed. Okay, so this is what Dan Bongino said. Let me get it shared up here. This is pretty significant. So he said this: during my tenure here as FBI director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed things to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us, but what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at the truth. Not my truth, not your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan.
So I saw this post as well, and I like that, but I also saw another video that didn't play, and I thought that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. This right here, though, has shocked me down to my core.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I was like, what does that mean? I'd like to know what that means.
One of the challenges that people like Dan Bongino will have, he's worked in government, so he's seen enough. He's seen enough to know that not everything as it seems, right? But there's also this element of projection of your virtue, right? Dan Bongino's a patriot, so he projects his patriotism onto everybody, and then when they fall short, he's still like, oh, they're just making mistakes. It's not intentional. This is just bad
Right.
policy, bad decisions. And slowly but surely, you might identify one politician. You go, oh, that's not a mistake. That's just, self-interested. And pretty soon you might see one thing and go, well, that's kind of corrupt. Somebody should go after him. But why are they not? Oh, there must be something we don't know, right? This is they have intelligence we don't have excuse. So when he gets in and he sees the beginning of all this, imagine a scenario where really and truly Barack Obama, John Brennan, Clapper, Monaco, right, McCabe, these people sat around in a room and conspired to overthrow the government. That actually happened. That it wasn't mistake. It wasn't we misread some intel. It was straight up, let's commit treason and overthrow the government. Okay, what is our tool? Oh, let's use this Russia dossier. We can get some mileage out of this. That the entire thing didn't start with the intel and then just misunderstanding it, that the entire thing started with the intention of treason.
Right.
That would shock you to your core, because people who choose to do that will put people in jail. They'll destroy people's lives. They'll commit murder, right? They'll do all of those things because from the very get-go, it's not a misunderstanding. It's not a, hey, we're all patriots trying to get to the bottom of this. We just see it differently. It is the potential to be pure, utter corruption and desire to destroy. And then throw on top of that the potential Epstein conversation. And I can see why Dan Bongino would say something. It shocks you to your core. For myself, I'm an outsider. I've only seen the government write me tickets, ask me for money, charge me taxes. I've only ever seen the government tell me, no, you can't do
And
things.
lie to me.
I've only ever seen the government lie to me. I can't think of one instance in my life where I go, oh, the government really came through for me. Not one.
Yeah.
They don't even fill the potholes. It takes local initiative of people to go bang down the county's door to get a pothole brought to their attention. So to me, I've never seen it as this benevolent factor. And I've always attributed to what our founding fathers say. If men were angels, we wouldn't need this demon. Right. And so we create the government to fight the bad people. It's to protect against our vices, as Thomas Paine said. So for him to come in here and say it shocks him to his core, we cannot run a republic like this. That's pretty stunning. I think that's pretty stunning. I've never heard a deputy director say something like that. Well, I guess I should take that back. I mean, Andrew McCabe was saying things like Trump was a Russian asset. So I guess, maybe Dan's playing us. I mean, it's that bad. We have to be suspicious of all of it.
Yeah.
The fortunate thing about Dan is he has thousands of hours broadcasting on the radio and podcasting. And there's a lot of people that he's built up a lot of trust, and he's taken popular and unpopular stances. I think he was wrong on his January 6th stance right after January 6th. I think it was wrong for a lot of people to throw protest attendees under the bus. I think it was wrong for them to call it a riot. I think it was wrong for them to not recognize immediately that there were 4 protesters that died that day and 0 cops. I think it's wrong that they didn't call that out immediately. I think it's wrong that they, the cops were just doing their job. Yes, they were. They should have been rendering first aid to a dead woman. They should have been. Had they rendered first aid, there might not have been what we call the tunnel rats and the guys that ended up in that tunnel in that image that I just showed as the J6 prosecutors talking about hauling those people off to prison. Right? I think that things should have gone a lot different. And again, it's the same people involved. It's the same people involved. This is John Ratcliffe talking on Maria Bartolomo's show this morning. See, Camarezel, good morning. Also at the Morrison with Marezel, Mom, do you want to send you some Scout Wookiees, some cookies? Or Saturday Marina large cinnamon rolls. Oh yeah, Saturday morning large cinnamon rolls. So my family is a Scout camp dynasty, just so you know. I started working at a Boy Scout camp when I was 14 years old. Pretty soon, a lot of my cousins, a lot of my siblings all worked at scout camp. My mom, when I was 18, became a cook at camp. And here I am, 42. She's still the cook at scout camp. And all of my siblings have worked at camp. A whole bunch of my cousins have worked at camp. All of my oldest children have worked at camp. And my son is right there with my mom. So they're having fun at scout camp and they're tuning in. So high in the Sawtooths in the Rocky Mountains of Idaho, there's a scout camp learning and hearing the peasant's perspective. Doing what's really important, by the way, actually changing lives with those youth. That's how Ron and I, by the way, for show context people, that's how Ron and I really became friends. We started out in the scouting program as co-scoutmasters and two different troops that were so small we had to combine our efforts together. So
gotta high adventure somehow.
Yeah, we've been on some fun hikes. We've been down the coast. We canoed the entire not the entire thing. A couple 100 or 100+ miles of the Columbia River with the scout camps. I'll never remember. I can't remember the kid's name, but he was in this canoe and we were going through Portland, right where the Willamette and the Columbia meet up together. And there was a big sea lion that was coming up the river, like a full male one with the big, huge basketball head. It's as big as the canoe. And he looks over and goes, "What is that?" It was like sea lion. And this kid was so rambunctious. He put his paddle down. He shows, "I'm done." He was like, he couldn't even react. The fear and everything, it just went to straight like, "I'm done. We're dead. There's monsters in this water."
Yeah. They look pretty big when they're up close.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I remember we were sitting on the banks of the Columbia one night doing our campfire with the boys, and we were kind of theming that journey over the Lewis and Clark adventure, right? Because we were on their trail. We were going down the river they went down to find the Pacific coast. And
somewhat different conditions with, dams and stuff to make it more navigable.
Yeah. And, hunting as they went and things like that. Yeah. Interacting with Indians, not just park rangers saying you can't camp here. So anyways, I remember we were reading about their experiences, and you were reading this thing about all they'd gone through, and you're like, they just don't make people like that anymore. They just don't make men like this anymore. And I remember thinking, yeah, there's some truth to that. But as I've gone on, I can say there are men that will face any challenge. The challenges just come differently. We tread the frontier in a different way, right? And I feel like that's a big part of some of the people I've met in the January 6th, some of the people I've met in this movement that are standing up to this deep state and this corruption in government in a very real and tangible way.
It's kind of a new frontier.
Are in many ways cut out from that same cloth of being kind of fearless and, sacrificing a lot, including their very lives to make a difference, and knowing that you're just a part of a bigger piece. The Lewis and Clark guys couldn't do it all on their own. They were a team, and not all of them made it back.
Yeah.
So anyways, this is John Ratcliffe talking to Maria Bartiromo about the accountability that they're seeking through their investigations. And there's been a lot made about Ratcliffe maybe being in on it. He was in the CIA and he didn't release these documents before and stuff like that. Well, we'll just let him speak for himself here.
Referrals to the DOJ.
Well, Maria, so part of what came out last week was about how John Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they all pushed the known fake Steele dossier into intelligence community assessments and as the basis for Crossfire Hurricane and all that. But what hasn't come out yet, and what's going to come out, is the underlying intelligence that I have spent the last few months making recommendations about final declassification and sent that to the Department of Justice that will come out in the John Durham report classified annex. And what that intelligence shows, Maria, is that part of this was a Hillary Clinton plan, but part of it was an FBI plan to be an accelerant to that fake Steele dossier, to those fake Russia collusion claims by pouring oil on the fire, by amplifying the lie and burying the truth of what Hillary Clinton was up to. And you're right, Maria. John Brennan testified to John Durham in August of 2020. He also testified to the House Oversight Committee in 2022. Hillary Clinton testified before John Durham under oath in 2022. James Comey testified before the Senate committee in September 2020. All of that's within the last 5 years. And much of that testimony is frankly completely inconsistent with what our underlying intelligence that is about to be declassified in the Durham Annex, what that reflects. And so, Pam Bondi does have a strike force. It is a different Department of Justice, a different FBI, and an opportunity to look at how these people really did conspire to run a hoax, a fraud on the American people and against Donald Trump's presidency. And so coming forward, we understand that they did this, but now we need to understand how they did this. And I think that's why you see the left losing their minds over this, Maria, saying, why are you spending time? This is vindictive. You're going back. This is Donald Trump, seeking retribution. It's not. Donald Trump's election by the American people was a statement, Maria. They said to everyone, we know what you did to Donald Trump, and we reelected him because we know this was all fake. We know it was a hoax. Now we want to understand how you did it so that it can't happen again. And that's what this declassification process that we're undergoing right now, what's going on, why it's so important, and why there can be accountability and preventability to prevent these same people that did it in 2016 with the Steele dossier, with the Hunter Biden laptop in 2020 from doing it again in the future.
So what I think I hear you saying is there is still an opportunity for.
Okay.
I'm okay with the accountability part. The preventability part starts to get me into like Minority Report territory. You know what I mean?
The tools they use.
Yeah. Oh, just a little Patriot Act thing.
Yep. Tommy J, joining us from Australia, asks, is artificial intelligence central bank digital currency going to take over? And my answer for you from Australia is probably for you, yeah. I don't know. Our perception of England and Australia, New Zealand is they've almost become lost causes. Like, I don't know what's going on over there, but what I saw in 2020 in COVID, I was not impressed. Yeah. I mean, we were, even here in Washington State, we were kind of fighting it, but down there, I mean, you guys were fighting it too, I'm sure, but governments are set up different. So, Tommy, but welcome from Australia. I'm glad to have you. There are peasants everywhere. One of the things I love about this show, Ron, we have actually hit all 6 continents where there are people to listen. Haven't seen anybody pop up in Antarctica, but we have officially have listeners and across the entire globe, all 7 planets. And if you're in Asia, you got the whole continent to yourself. You got like one listener out there. So, anyways, on audio, I can see the location of where people are tuning in. So, it could be somebody's VPN. I almost wonder sometimes when I see like a rotating address across Europe, I'm like, either I got someone that's jumping from hostel to hostel, or they're just changing VPN addresses every time.
Yeah.
Anyways, John Brennan was on MSNBC this weekend, and we got to play their response to this stuff because you can see and hear so much. Keep in mind, there have been articulate accusations as to how this intelligence was laundered in, how it was manipulated and used. It's been very articulated. So when
Some of these guys are the guys that should know all the details.
Yep. So when John Brennan comes out here, notice how he doesn't attack any of the substance of the allegations or the intelligence releases that Tulsi Gabbard and others have made. He comes after their character.
Tulsi Gabbard, she may be impaired on the ethics front, certainly, but she's not impaired on the intellect front. And so I can only presume that she is doing this intentionally mischaracterizing, misrepresenting, and lying about what she has found. Tulsi Gabbard, she may be.
So she's lying about what she's found. What has she lied about?
Yeah.
What has she lied about? Well, we all assessed that Russia interfered. I know. Peter Strzok laid it all. You guys are all in on it. Well, that's what we're saying, Brennan. There's nobody that's safe from this. As Horowitz said very clearly one time when they were like, so what you're saying is that Trump didn't really do this. And, but for the most part, the intelligence community and the FBI, they did their job. They followed protocol. And he goes, nobody who touched this is clean. That's what Horowitz said. Exact quote. Nobody who touched this is clean. That's what he said. He stopped him mid-sentence, put his hand out across the table on C-SPAN and said, nobody who touched this is clean. And then it left it at that. And then when, you can go read the report. It's pretty damning. And then, of course, in the conclusion line, it's who you're going to prosecute. Don't do that. Okay.
Somebody else.
Nobody who touched this is clean. Like every protocol was broken. Nothing of this would made sense. All the way down to the simple, you should look at it and go, this is fake. Let's close it. Let's close it all right now. You don't continue something on just because you have to. Like that's where human beings are supposed to be able to put stop. Okay, so Tommy J, you asked this. She says, Trump signed some act to do with CBDC. All news is on YouTube and we don't hear all the truth. Thank you guys, Tommy. Okay, so yes, Trump signed the CBDC Act. I think you've got the Genius Act that just got passed. Here's my basic understanding of the framework. They're building a control grid. You get to choose if you want to get on or not. One of the things that's really unique about American politics and American law is we have escape hatches. We always have to allow the way for the Amish to be the Amish. It's that simple. The Amish people are what keep us free. We have a large indigenous population on this country that have been here in a single in a single society that have chosen not to participate in the American form of government. They have a birthright. They are citizens of the country, of the United States of America, lower caps republic, but they do not participate in the democracy. They do not participate in public education. They do not get licensing to drive cars. They do not apply for permits to build buildings. They do not pay income taxes. They are living on this land, and they're as close to you can get as an indigenous people in North America, because all the Indian tribes have been conquered by war or by treaty, but the Amish have preserved their independence, sovereignty, and freedom. They don't even call us Americans. They call us English. Okay.
Huh.
British means bank man. They don't interact with the bank man. They don't want that debt slavery. And their religious structure preserves that. So the way our laws have to be crafted, there has to be a way for them to survive. There are literally millions of them. And they're just tucked all over the Midwest and down into the South, and they're all over the place. The Amish are free in that regard. So we have escape valves. We have a cash economy because the Amish need to be able to have cash. We still have gold and silver exchanges because the Amish will transact in gold and silver. And so we have CBDCs that are coming on. Stablecoin, the Trump signed executive order saying the Federal Reserve could not issue the CBDC. And one of the main reasons for that is because we want to preserve a cash economy. So should you choose to use cash, then you don't have to be a part of the digital control grid. Is there going to be cost and benefit to that? Sure. The Amish choose to live a certain way so that they don't have to plug into the grid. So we have choices. Whether you are willing to do what it takes to live those choices and deny the benefits that the government offers in return for your subjugation control is up to you. So that is one of the really unique things about America is we have escape valves built in. But are you willing to get in the pod and escape? Because you lose the benefit of whatever benefit you're getting from wars in the Middle East or whatever. So something to consider always. Tammy says, I don't want any brain chip implant. Yeah, neither do I. Neither do I. Although I hear cruising the internet could be pretty amazing. This is Devin Nunes talking about, again, the DOJ strike force and the referrals that were made to the criminal Obama administration. Before we move on here, where's the comment? I saw a comment pop up, but it went away. Oh, it was on Telegram. That's why. All right, this is Devin Nunes talking with Matt Gaetz. Again, we're just covering this information, lots of stuff. Listen, if they take Barack Obama in handcuffs, I'm not saying they will, but Trump did post a really cool AI video of that. The world's going to freak out. So you need to be ready to calm down your friends and family and be like, no. I know the story, what's going on here. They deserve it. Okay. Because the mainstream media is not going to think Barack Obama or Brennan or any of these guys deserve to be, in trouble for protecting democracy. In quotes.
How would you rate that criminal acuity with some of the top members of President Obama's team?
Well, the one thing that I didn't have that Director Gabbard was able to acquire that was released about a week ago was the information of the Presidential Daily Brief, PDB, but I won't use the acronyms. But basically, this is the briefing that the president's supposed to get. Now, one of the reasons I knew that the Russia hoax was a hoax right at the beginning is because right after the 2016 election, the House Intelligence Committee that I was chairing, we were one of the first to be briefed by the FBI and the intelligence agencies about the election. This is a common briefing. It happens every election. The House Intelligence Committee, Senate Intelligence Committee gets these briefings. Well, at that briefing, we were told that nothing unusual happened. And in fact, when I read the PDB, it jogged my memory to say, wow, I heard that before. I heard it actually right after the election around Thanksgiving. And then now we know, leading up to December 9th, meetings occur. Obama, and look, he was responsible. He was in the meeting. He was the president. Now, who brought him the idea? Who initiated it? I don't really care. I just want to make sure that everyone is held accountable. And hopefully they're, as they start to look at all of this, and I really see this as one giant hoax. Okay, so it's not just about the Russia hoax. You will.
This is where I want our listeners, and particularly some of my family and friends who've thought I've absolutely been crazy all these years, to understand. This is one giant thing. Yeah. This was like, imagine if you're around the turn of the century sitting in Russia and you know about what the Bolsheviks are doing. You know that there's this small group of really kind of radical socialist communists. It's this new political theory, right? And they're pretty aggressive. And part of them preach passivity, part of them preach aggressiveness, but it's the Bolsheviks, right? It's this small group that eventually take over the whole government and create the Soviet Empire, which committed untold horrors. Imagine watching that. That's what you're watching here. You're watching a small clan, a Bolshevik clan that is able to manipulate the American zeitgeist, the American media infrastructure, the American, the Bolsheviks were manipulating the structures of civil society that they had at the moment, kicking people out of meetings, arresting people, doing things to manipulate votes in order to consolidate power until you didn't need to vote anymore, right? Imagine that. That's what you're dealing with here. Russiagate, Ukrainegate, J6, election fraud. It's one thing after another, and it's the same people.
We'll remember well the Ukraine impeachment hoax. Yes. The Hunter Biden laptop hoax. I mean, we can go on and on about hoaxes. These are all done by the same people, and they should all be held accountable. And so it'll be interesting to see. And I say, the biggest hoax of all the things, there's lots of them, but of this giant hoax was the raid at Mar-a-Lago. And I think that could hold some keys, whatever evidence can be found there and how it relates to all of this, which is essentially just a get Trump hoax all in one. Hopefully they can find some information there, and then everybody you can lump all of this in. You're the lawyer, not me, but this is conspiracy. It's a quintessential definition of conspiracy. And ironically, my criminal referrals that I made, many of them actually were based in what Jack Smith went after Donald Trump for. So it's the age-old Washington establishment that whatever they accuse you of doing, they're actually doing themselves. So they went and took what they were doing, went after Trump on it with the Jack Smith special counsel. And so now we know that can be used because the Department of Justice just tried to use it on someone.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a little kid that starts the fight, but lets the other person finish the fight, knowing that dad will come in and it will be worse for the kid they started you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about? Kids that kind of manipulate like that. That's a little bit what they do. Like they start the fight and then they accuse the other person of doing what they're doing. And then when the people show up or big, somebody that's supposed to bring justice shows up, they're like, well, look at how much he hit me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what's going on. Like, now you're starting to see the Brennans and, well, they're the liars. They're the colluders. They're the ones trying to overthrow government. We were the government. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Last thing before I go, some are saying that that Alex Jones is a clone and not the same person. Thank you. Bye, guys. Okay, Tammy, Joe Rogan talked about this directly. Alex Jones hired a personal trainer. He got on a real diet. He's lost like 40 or 50 pounds day by day. Joe Rogan's like, I check in with him every day. He's done it the hard way, the right way. He's not a different person. He's a better person, but he's not a clone. So that was Joe Rogan is like, it's hilarious because he's like the conspiracy guy, and now they're claiming he's a clone because he's lost all this weight. But no, he's really lost all the weight and he's been working out and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, he's a clone.
He's
People say
obviously
anything about
old
Mike
man
Pompeo.
ripped too, you know. He's not like young man ripped. He's old man ripped.
Yeah, he's old man ripped. Yeah, exactly. I hope to be there at this point. I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm like, oh, I better start working on my 50-year-old body, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Again, we have this running hoax, this running collusion. And then Ratcliffe said this. This is in that same interview with Maria Bartiromo. I want to play this because, you know, the question that I have constantly is, are we going to see accountability? Everybody's asking this question. It's reasonable to ask this question.
There is no doubt in my mind that the people that we just talked about conspired. They conspired against President Trump. They conspired against the American people. And so I'll leave it to Pam Bondi and our Department of Justice, Kash Patel, and our FBI to investigate the conspiracy to do what and what charges that they're capable of bringing. But again, I don't think statute of limitations are going to impact, because in a conspiracy, Maria, the statute of limitation doesn't start to run until the last act in furtherance of that conspiracy. And Maria, part of why this is so important is the people behind this are still furthering the conspiracy. They're refusing to admit or acknowledge what they did in 2016 and what they did in 2020 was wrong. And so I think that's why this is so important and why I'm excited about what the American people will see very shortly and what's to continue to come.
I like the little micro smile on his face. I'm excited to what they're going to see and what they're going to continue to come. My expectations are low. My expectations are really low. But I do have expectations at this point. You know? And if these guys flub it again, like they've drained the, you know, put the Epstein meat out there and then nobody bit, it's going to be really disappointing, like really disappointing. But, you know, the clock is ticking. It takes years to put together a trial. I hope these guys get moving. This is not my favorite person, but since we were quoting him in the pre-show, we'll do it live. We're going to listen to Bill O'Reilly here and his prediction. And he actually has been right on a handful of predictions recently. And I think it's because he's so relegated to like Loserville, media. You know, he's got his own little station and stuff, and he's got his dedicated 150,000 followers or so. But he really, like, the way he exited Fox News, I don't know what you have to do to someone to have to pay him $27 million. Sounds pretty extreme to me. Like, I don't expect $27,000 from the government, and they put me in prison for 14 months. So whatever he did to that female employee at Fox News was pretty bad. Okay. So anyway, either way, this is Bill O'Reilly, and he is connected with Trump. He does call him. So that's why I go to him, because occasionally he's got a little nugget.
Charges against John Brennan, the former CIA director, okay, under Barack Obama, are very powerful. I believe Mr. Brennan will be indicted by the federal government. Okay? Charges.
He will be indicted by the federal government. And I know what prison he's going to go to. He's going to go to Terre Haute, which is the Communication Management Unit. And that's where they send all the former CIA directors, and not directors, but CIA station chiefs and stuff like that, double agents. They send them there because everything they say is monitored. They have no like outside communication. That's where they'll send them.
Where is it called?
Terre Haute. It's in, I think it's in Illinois.
Okay.
It's a town called Terre Haute, and that's where the prison is, and that's where they send like Al Qaeda terrorists that are in the federal system. You know, people that are not allowed to talk to other people. It's also where they send a lot of sovereign citizens. Anyways,
okay,
yeah, he'll end up in there. On a different note, and good news, there was a peace deal brokered between Cambodia and Thailand. So I guess Donald Trump called him up and said, if you guys don't resolve this war, they were basically been at a long running war against each other, immediately we won't be doing any trade deals. And this.
1. Both Cambodia and Thailand reached a common understanding as follows. 1. an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Effect from 24 hours local time, midnight, on 28th July 2025. Tonight. Both
ceasefire.
Huh.
I am.
This is my ignorance. I didn't know that they were fighting.
Yeah, and you didn't know that there was a war going on in Africa either that Trump settled.
No.
I am almost
Our news media sucks.
I am almost emotionally brought to an overwhelming sense of what good Donald Trump is doing in the world stage. He understands individual life. Every death is a tragedy. Stalin once said, one death is a tragedy, a million deaths is a statistic. We get overwhelmed with it was Rwanda and Sudan or whatever, that there've been fighting. And he says, with machetes, right? They got that ceasefire. I haven't heard anything about Iran. I mean, that they're done. Rebuilding, the Ukraine-Russia thing is still hot, and Trump's shortened up that 50-day window that he gave Putin to make a decision on what he wanted to do. He brokered a peace deal in Kosovo. He's got this deal going on. Like, over the Pakistan-India thing, he got settled. He is a president of peace. I mean, really and truly. It will be an absolute tragedy if they slander him and label him as a president who didn't bring peace. I mean, all over the place. Yes, Terre Haute in Indiana, that's where that prison is. Thank you, Fraser. So, yeah. A peace deal, and we didn't even see it coming.
Yeah, I'll take it.
If you're living in Cambodia or Thailand right now, you're probably like, it's over, because remember, all fighting is localized. It's we, the peasants, who have to pull the trigger or swing the machete.
If you're in Thailand or Cambodia, say something in the chat.
Yeah, if you're in Thailand or Cambodia, say something in the chat. Another news, this is like huge news. This is Scott Bessent, and he's talking about the budget last month.
He's created a lot of leverage because he's created an A-B situation. He is able to go to the trading partners and say, look, I am happy to take in this tariff income if you don't want to negotiate. This is a high rate, but the U.S. is taking in massive amounts of tariff income. We had the first June budget surplus since 2015 last month. We reported it this month. And so we are taking in substantial income. So President Trump.
Hold on. A budget surplus? What?
First one in 10 years.
What? A budget surplus in the middle of the summer, and it's not April when it's tax season?
Yeah.
Like in July, you took in a surplus because of tariffs? Oh, and by the way, we're not even at the tariff increases yet. We're at the back to baseline 10%. It's like everything they said about tariffs, all the pundits on TV were wrong. And here's why. For everybody who says tariffs are a tax, they're not a tax. They never will be a tax. They never are a tax. And anybody who says tariffs are a tax, you need to just start ignoring them. Tariffs are an expense. They're an expense on the part of the business that's attempting to sell something to you. Part of an expense, kind of like saying tariffs are a tax, is like saying the diesel that goes into the delivery truck is taxed. That's like saying the cost of raw goods like copper is tax. It's not. It's part of the cost basis of the product. So tariffs never get passed on to the consumer so long as one of the competitors selling that product doesn't have to pay it.
Right.
If you can buy American made with no tax or China made with tariffs, you don't pay the tariffs. The company selling you the product from China has to pay the tariffs, and their price point is going to have to compete with the no tariff product. So nothing gets passed on to you. It's included in their cost basis.
Correct.
Period. When someone says, well, tax gets passed on, all expenses get passed on, dum-dum. Saying that tariffs are a tax is like saying Raw ore is a tax because I have to pay for it to be upgraded and increased. Right? It's like,
I mean, those companies will attempt to pass that on to the consumer, but they may or may not be successful.
exactly. They can raise their price. Listen,
But
you
then,
can buy you can go if you want, and you can buy a Toyota or you can buy a Lexus. Do we sit and go, well, the Lexus logo is a tax? You pay what you want to pay. If you want foreign goods and you want to pay extra, then you're not paying a tax for the foreign good. You're paying what it costs to buy a foreign good. And you can buy an equivalent domestic good and it would cost less or different. Like, it's never a tax so long as there's competition. So long as it's even possible for you to buy something that's made domestically, then that tariff is just cost basis. Just like delivery fuel, just like all the other expenses that go into putting something on the store shelves, it's all a tax.
Yep.
Because we pay it. So stop calling it a tax because that doesn't even put it in the right realm of existence of what it really is. It's just one of the sundry of the many expenses that any company will have to get its good to market. Boop, that simple, right? So did we finish this clip? I don't even know.
Trump is creating this leverage by saying, if you don't want to negotiate with me, I've sent you a letter with a high rate. Have at the high rate or come and negotiate in better fashion. Because I'll tell you what was fascinating for me, and this was President Trump at his best, was the Indonesians came with what I thought was a very good offer out of the blocks. President Trump kept pushing them. He raised the reciprocal rate when he sent them the letter, and 5 iterations later, the Indonesian trade deal was greatly improved, turned into a great deal for both sides.
And they're the ones who opened their market up, and they're the 4th largest country in the planet. And I was like, what? I had no idea Indonesia was that big, right? Huge deal. And Vietnam and these other countries that he did. Donald Trump also struck a trade deal with the EU this week, and somebody asked him a question about why he rushed to do the trade deal. Keep in mind, August 1 is the deadline for tariffs going up universally for everyone. So Donald Trump rushed to get the deal done, right? Oh, I got to share screen.
Oh, you got to be.
President, was part of the rush to get this deal done to knock Jeffrey Epstein's story out?
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
He asked, did you rush to get this European trade deal done because to cover up for the Epstein story? And Trump's, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Just for context, just so you know, Trump's most recent statement on the Epstein debacle is this. So this is what we're running with right now, us Trump sycophants. I say that rhetorically. I'm not a Trump sycophant.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to say is that Todd is a great attorney, but you ought to be speaking about Larry Summers. You ought to be speaking about some of his friends that are hedge fund guys. They're all over the place. You ought to be speaking about Bill Clinton, who went to the island 28 times. I never went to the island.
Do you maintain you did not write a letter for Jeffrey Epstein's birthday?
I don't even know what they're talking about. Now, somebody could have written a letter and used my name, but that's happened a lot. All you have to do is take a look at the dossier, the fake dossier. Everything's fake with that administration. Everything's fake with the Democrats. Take a look at what they just found about the dossier. Everything is fake. They're a bunch of sick people. Where did you see the people laying outside?
Right across the.
So everything is fake. That is one of the big challenges we have is it's hard to sort through what's real and what's fake. And it comes from both sides too. I mean, we have to be honest about it coming from both sides. Okay, so let's listen to the EU President Ursula von whatever, that my understanding is essentially an unelected person that's running a continent, and Donald Trump talk about the trade deal that they just put together. It's a pretty significant trade deal. They did obviously a longer press conference here, but we're just going to play a couple minutes of it because, again, biggest trade deal. My understanding is this is the biggest trade deal ever embarked on. So it's a big deal. Big deal.
European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but it's the good news is we make the best military equipment in the world, so sort of you have to do that. I mean, until somebody tops us, which is not going to happen. We're way ahead of every other country in terms of the quality of the military equipment. You saw that recently in Iran, and you see that, unfortunately, you see that often for all the wrong reasons, right? So those things are $750 billion, $600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part, it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it. And we will, very importantly, they'll be investing a lot of money, but the military is a big number, but that's one number we're not determining. It's going to be whatever it is, but they're going to be purchasing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of military equipment. They're very important. They're going to purchase $750 billion worth of energy. So that's going to be great. And $600 billion worth of investments into the United States over and above what they have. So, and I think that basically concludes the deal. I mean, those are the main factors. I don't think there are too many other factors, other than we're going to get along great. And we have a great relationship now with NATO, which is largely the same. I mean, not exactly, but pretty close, right? Largely. And with NATO, as you know, they're going up to 5% from 2%. And the relationship is very strong with NATO. So I just want to congratulate you. I think it's great that we made a deal today instead of playing games and maybe not making a deal at all. I think it's, I'm going to let you say, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We have a deal. We have a trade.
I
Wow.
am increasingly impressed by Donald Trump's ability to get these trade, like, it can't be understated. In a economy we have lived with where we basically are the dumping ground for everything. There's very little to no tariffs to sell things into the United States. We are the quintessential consumer. But the rest of the world intelligently sealed off their markets from our goods. We had enough that you could still become a very rich company just selling stuff to people in America, right? You didn't have to sell outside. But as time's gone on, you've got these truly mega corporations, and you have countries that invest in these mega corporations like China. How many global businesses does China own? Through because everything that their people own, China owns, right? Like it's that whole communist thing, like, yeah, no private property. So
yeah, I guess they got a billion corporations.
A billion corporations, exactly. and they all can take advantage of our poor trade practices. And finally, America is waking up going, listen, we are a sovereign state. We are not the dumping grounds. We need to maintain local factories because we have to live here. Opening up a factory that just sticks around for a couple of years or, isn't going to work. You need long-term factories, long-term tooling, long-term everything. AI is going to change so much. I was playing around with AI to make an Excel spreadsheet. Ron, it's stupid. It's stupid. You can make the most complex CSV files exportable into Excel, making it do whatever you want it to do. And you used to have to hire these little Excel nerds to make a spreadsheet that, or to write some code for a widget app or something like that. I did it. I just asked it to do what I wanted to do, gave it the parameters, gave it a couple tweaks when it kicked out version 1, and I got exactly what I was asking for. And I didn't even know where to start as far as the if-then statements in the Excel sheet. You know what I mean? If this, then this, if this, then that. It did it in a matter of 20 minutes. I had produced what I could have been staring at for a week to try to even conceptualize, let alone manually put in all the calculations for every field that I wanted to do and customize it and duplicate it. You know what I mean? Instant.
Yeah.
Done. I mean, it was one of those things I'm like, I don't even, because we had somebody lined up to create one of these and, we're in discussions of how much it's going to cost. And I'm like, I should give Grok a shot at it. Done. Oh my goodness. AI will be destabilizing as small entrepreneurs like me realize how we can use it to leverage ourselves. It's a force multiplier, right? So now it's back to production. The only real means of wealth is production. You got to make something that the AI can't. If you're making Excel sheets for a living, you're already out of business. You just don't know it yet. Just, you know what I mean? If your job is doing math, you're already out of business. You just don't know it yet. There's going to be a few people that can stick around to math check the AI, but for the most part, it's going to be very destabilizing in areas that we probably didn't see coming. And there's going to be they're already telling us the trades are on the way up. They got to watch out for the robots. They're not so worried about AI as much as they are the robots. So really big trade deal. That's awesome. I think if you added up all of the potential growth, you start to see how America can actually overcome its debt problem. I do think that they understand that. And Scott Bessent and Trump have both spoken directly to that. This last clip here, well, let me make sure I want it to be the last clip. Okay. So this last clip here, let me play two. I'm going to have two more clips to finish out the public side of the show. Then we're going to jump over to the private side. So this is Brett Weinstein. And he's talking about Real ID. So this is a complete change from everything we've been talking about. But one thing that I have been very disappointed in this particular administration is they're pushing the Real ID. The Real ID is basically a way to, it's part of the control grid. Catherine Austin Fitts talks about this. And this is Brett Weinstein talking about it, advising you to avoid getting the Real ID. In just a second.
Allow yourself to be. So the key here is don't get a Real ID, get a state ID. Don't allow yourself to be passively dragged into this. Ask the questions. I would recommend that a passport card is a good thing to have and that it neutralizes this issue at the airport. They don't even mention Real ID to you because the passport card serves that function without apparently collecting the extra data. That's so frightening here. So,
and people have said to me,
what they're collecting is like facial recognition markers. Well, when you understand what they can do on the internet, that allows them to track you based on what computers you walk in front of. If you just walk in front of a computer camera, they're going to be able to tie it all together to your government ID and your government files. So it's the merger of just the random marketing data that Google collects on you being dumped into Palantir, now with your Social Security and your HHS and your IRS information also being dumped into Palantir. And I went to the gas station this weekend, and again, no prices on anything at a convenience store, just barcodes and QR codes. And I'm like, the reason you don't have prices marked is you want me to scan my phone and you want to set the price based on my social media accounts, right? Like there's no reason why there shouldn't be a price on this stuff. And the cashier's like, well, I don't think the price changes. And I'm like, you don't think. Exactly. We don't know. You don't know if the price, get out your little sticky gun and start putting prices out here. I totally don't know what this candy bar costs. And that's the kind of stuff that they're able to tie it all together.
Well, they have all the data, you know, what's the big deal? And they have what they need. And I'm like, they don't. And the reason that they're lying and the reason they're exerting pressure is they don't have something that they want. And they want everybody in the real ID. So what we need to do is make sure that we don't acquiesce to them and that we turn it backwards. And yes, get a passport card so you can sleep at night, right? So you don't have to worry. Right, but don't get a real ID and give up your real ID.
Excellent. All right. Very interesting that they have deceived us into thinking we are farther down this road than we are. Very interesting that this was moving slowly, dormant at several stages, and now is on the move again. I think that is our enemies accidentally telegraphing to us that they know that this has to be done now. And
well, and there's two things here. 44% of all IDs and state driver's licenses are not compliant. So we want to get it up, like I said, to 46 and 48 and 50, right? So that's about all the people who are listening to you making a different decision. But the other thing is, don't wait until renewal. Get it done now, because the DMV agents have gone rogue. We discovered that they went rogue between when all those 30 states said no, or 30 some states said no, and then Obama issued that call. During that time, even though it was against the law to conform or come anywhere close to Real ID, there was a tiny little Real ID office in the Homeland Security that decided to work directly with DMVs. So the DMVs were taking money behind the backs of their governors, behind the backs of their legislators, and they were moving their state toward compliance with Real ID without telling anybody about it. So the DMVs are probably going to try to shut down your ability to not have a Real ID, and you need to do this as quickly as possible. That's another reason to tell your state legislators that you want to get out of the Real ID system.
all right, did you all get that? What you want to do is not wait for renewal. You want to get a state driver's license that is not a Real ID.
Go.
Hello. Hey.
What happened?
My battery died.
Oh.
So I got it plugged in. This computer gives me like one warning. Your battery's about to die in 4 seconds.
Oh, geez.
It's like, oh. So
I just saw you disappear and then the clip stopped.
Yeah, the computer turned off. All right. Well, we're going to do this. What I'm going to do is we're going to go just wrap up the show. And
Okay.
I am going to, for anybody who's still listening, I am going to go live and then I'm going to go private and I'm going to play on the private side the episode we did doing Emerald Robinson's super threat on election integrity. I set that on private because, of course, it was dragging down the algorithm. And we went from show growth to like that as soon as we did that episode, which just to me proves that we're doing the right thing. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I want to get the information out there, so I'm going to put it on private. So I'm going to close this stream out, and then I'm going to start a new stream, run it for only like 30 seconds or go, and then I'm going to hit play on that. And we're going to find another episode that we can play tomorrow, and that should hit our private streaming goals for the month, and then we'll be done. And who knows, maybe we even got enough chatters today too. So sorry about the show cutting out there in the middle of that clip. It happens. Listen, we're not AI. Clearly, I need to like clean off this oh my gosh, look how dirty that camera screen was. Just wiping my finger. It was like, wow. It's like I was on my Nokia talk phone for a second there. Okay. So anyways, all right, guys, thanks so much. And we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Bye.